Stop
Fine.
it. Stop
Fine.
it. Stop it. Stop
My
it.
turn.
Stop
My
it.
turn.
Ah!
Got it. Well, hello and welcome again for this second episode of Mike Takes the Mic. I'm here with Headmaster Christopher Dyer of Reborn Martial Arts here in Springfield, Virginia, here to ask your questions yet again. So today's question comes from Katie, and Katie asks, what is your favorite technique and why? And I'd like to kind of add on to that a little bit. Is it one technique maybe, or maybe a family of techniques, or kind of a particular avenue of techniques, applications? I think I know the answer, but I'd like to hear it straight from you.
Well, you have to let me know what you think is correct, because I'd imagine it is. We've been working together long enough, you probably know where I'm going with this. I don't have a favorite technique. There's certain method that I usually will do in my own study or my own application when I'm sparring or whatever. It usually goes something along the lines of avoid, so moving out of the way, strike to disrupt someone, and then move in. I like throwing, so use some sort of throw or control, and then make sure that you're covered. So something along the lines of move, hit, throw, make sure, assess the area around is a technique that I usually go to, and then I try and apply that to sparring and techniques that I work on. But I think it's important to share. Congratulations, you've just learned the master technique. Like that, the one technique doesn't work for everything, and you have to learn a whole lot of different things. We practice this in our studio of. And I know we've gone back and forth about this of, is it left punch, is it right punch? A lot of times we practice of when you're working with a partner, it doesn't matter. You don't get to decide what that attack is. They do, and you're going to have to respond to it naturally. And I think if you get tied too much to a specific technique, you start falling apart. You get, we talked about it the other day is, the analysis paralysis of I could do this, I could do this. The goal is to train yourself so that you just respond with something. And that response is going to be different for everybody. So, we have people that like getting in close, grabbing onto people and throwing way more than they do striking or kicking. And those people should continue to practice those things. Now, practicing get better at the other stuff that you don't necessarily gravitate towards, because we try and teach a holistic approach. But different people gravitate towards different things, and that's good too, right? I almost always rely on my speed. I'm pat myself on the back, really good at being fast, right? But when it comes to grappling bigger, stronger people, it's hard for me because I'm usually 50 pounds lighter than a lot of my partners a lot of times. So I really rely on speed. So I should be doing that because it makes the most sense. So finding what techniques work for you. And that's, again, why we teach this holistic approach that we do at our studio is not every technique works for everybody. Some people will, gravitate one direction or another on different things, and that is good, and that's what we want to teach. And we want you to be able to practice what you gravitate towards with a variety of different difficulties and different attacks, and visualize how you would do things with different approaches.
Interesting. So what is it? Is there something specific about throwing? I think I know what it is, but again, I want to hear it straight from your mouth.
Yeah, it's satisfying. We make the joke all the time that, you can deliver so much power with a punch or a kick, but you're hitting someone with the planet. Like, you can't beat that. Throws are, they end a situation a lot of times. If you can do them well, and that's the hard part is, you see, we do these in our setup videos of we'll do a throw to demonstrate something, but rarely do you ever see the other side of it is the person squirming and pulling you down with them and all this other stuff, and it gets ugly a lot of times. But I do like throwing because it helps. Like it's a period to the end of the conflict, right? You throw a person down to the ground, it happens beautifully, it's satisfying, and it goes back to my other thing is I want to be situationally aware. Just that I throw a person, I can spend a quick second, look around, make sure that I'm safe in every other direction, and not necessarily focused on, this is kind of the thing about ground fighting. People talk about this all the time, is on the ground, you don't see the other people coming from different directions. So I like throwing is that I can kind of look and assess.
And so what you're talking about, kind of at the end, is that from a purely tactical mind frame of threat plus one, kind of here, of course, in a studio environment, you don't have any real threats because you're training with your partners and your friends and whatnot. Should you have to employ any of these things for real, you want to keep in mind that the issue in front of you that you're dealing with directly may not be the end of it. So to your point, you want to chuck someone on the ground, and then you want to have a second to search and assess for any additional threats that may or may not be there, or just any other situations that may be in your vicinity. Maybe you have a friend that's also dealing with an issue at the same time you are. And that makes a ton of sense. I firmly believe in kind of the threat plus one mentality. And so you want to train that mindset.
Yeah. Also, the thought of, I am defending myself. We get into this in sparring all the time. In a self-defense situation, a person throws an attack, that situation is over in the blink of an eye. It is done. It's different when you're sparring, though, right? You got gloves on. You're not trying to just completely end it in a split second, right? Sparring matches would be very, very different things in that case. So kind of that reality of sparring versus what happens in real life situations. So we know that, if both people know how to block and punch and kick and all this other stuff, it can just turn into a street fight or a brawl where it's boom, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth striking. So I think if a person is going to throw an attack, they're what we'd call, quote unquote, a puncher or a striker. The best thing to do against that is not to stand up and trade blows with them, especially if they're trained, right? Now you're trading blows with a trained striker. Throw them, because they might not be as used to dealing with throws. And so that puts them in a situation where they no longer have the advantage. Likewise, if a person tries to shoot in on you, step back and punch them, because that person is trained in grappling arts. They might not be, trained in dealing with striking situation. So again, going back to the holistic approach is do what makes sense for that situation. If a person tries to grapple you, don't try and grapple them back. Even if you're a great grappler, don't try and grapple them back, because now you're going force against force, as opposed to flipping the script on them. They try and grapple you, strike them. If they try and strike you, grapple them. If they try and lock you up, kick them, right? You stop them from getting close. Always be able to flip the script. And again, it goes back to having a holistic approach, studying different styles and different methods, so that you can kind of rock, paper, scissors the situation. And none of this stuff is done like, oh, you're coming at me with a grapple, I'm going to do it. Like, you have to train it instinct, and that's kind of what we focus on doing.
It's very Sun Tzu, Art of War, kind of attack your opponent's weaknesses. And,
yeah.
And I really appreciate what you're saying about, you want to train your martial arts, much like dialogue. You can do your martial arts extemporaneously as the situation demands, and you can have a martial dialogue, so to speak, with your opponent, and hopefully win that match. So, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, I like that question. Keep sending us questions. Like, subscribe, share, so we get more stuff. I love answering these types of questions. I think it's great to get it out there, and hope to see you guys in the studio.
Thanks for your time.